I'm Travis Bader, and this is the Silvercore podcast. Silvercore has been providing its members with the skills and knowledge necessary to be confident and proficient in the outdoors for over 20 years, and we make it easier for people to deepen their connection to the natural world. If you enjoy the positive and educational content we provide, please let others know by sharing, commenting, and following so that you can join in on everything that Silvercore stands for. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a member of the Silvercore Club and community, visit our website at silvercore.ca. Today we're joined by a former 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment soldier, Special Forces counterterrorism expert, and base jumper extraordinaire. He's led a life defined by bravery, determination, and an unyielding thirst for adventure. We'll explore the mindset required to face danger head-on, the lessons learned from life on the edge, and the deep connection between courage and adrenaline. Welcome to the Silvercore podcast, Jamie Flynn.
Hey, thanks for having me. That sounds like a really interesting introduction. He sounds like a good dude.
There you go, yeah. Good guy for sure. So you've got, I look at your social media feed and I'm envious of some of the very cool things that you're doing out there. You're jumping off the chief in a squirrel suit. You're base jumping, doing a lot of these high adrenaline things, which I don't know if I'd ever, I enjoy pushing myself. I don't know if I'd ever find myself in doing that. You never know. We'll see. But I'm curious about your background and what kind of led you to this adventurous lifestyle. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a really crap area in England called Slough.
Okay.
It's just outside of London. Yeah, it's a really rough neighborhood. Come from a really bad council estate. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
We come from, as you'd imagine, a broken home. My family all broke up pretty young. It's not the best upbringing, I'll be honest. And my parents broke up when I was like 9, and I was actually funny. Weirdly enough, it's not actually funny. Yeah. My real mum dropped me on the side of a highway, and then I got with a black bin bag, and another truck driver pulled up and got out, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, my dad works for this company." And I was like, "How the hell did this happen?" So yeah, he calls them on this old CB radio, and however they managed to get this phone call to happen. They got my dad on the phone, and pretty sure. And then I moved in with my dad pretty shortly after. But he was a long distance truck driver.
Wow.
And that's how my life started, was, just being abandoned by my biological mum. And then moving in with a woman who worked at my dad's company, who was the secretary at the time. And yeah, my dad and her didn't have a relationship at the time. So
How old were you?
I was 9 or just turning 10.
So that's about 26 years ago, almost on the date, I think, if
Facebook was right,
Facebook was right, yes.
Yeah, it was. It was like 2 days ago or something.
Yeah. Is that something that that date comes up and it sticks in your head?
Oh yeah. It's a pretty unique date because it's you grow up and imagine that you're going to be with your family, and that's how it is. But the person you trust the most is actually the one that abandoned you. And that's kind of weird and sticks with you. And I think has probably got something to do with how my life has turned out.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would have some impact for sure. Did you ever have any communication with her after that, or was that it?
A little bit here and there, but like it was so broken. It's just
Man.
Eventually, I just was like, no. She reached out a couple of times when I was in Afghanistan and whatever, and I'm not really interested.
So, as a youngster, prior to that happening, would you seek out risky things, or were you kind of more risk adverse?
No, I had no interest. Like, I was scared of roller coasters. I was scared of everything. Like, it was weird. It was like I didn't really get into that much trouble until like I got into my teenage years, and That lady that I lived with and my dad ended up getting together. Obviously, that normally happens.
Tends to happen.
And then we moved down to a place called Deal, which is just north of Dover.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a nice area, and it was actually kind of a cool place to grow up. And I got into skateboarding pretty young.
Okay.
Yeah, and skateboarding is one of those sports where you can't just pick it up and be good at it.
Not at all.
No, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep falling over. You have to smashing your face on the ground. You have to keep hurting your wrists and your ankles and your legs and break bones and everything else. So it's one of those where it's just like you have to keep getting up and do things over and over and over again until finally you can actually do what you wanted to do. Yeah, and I think that that's probably where my mindset has come from, being maybe a little bit angry from where my childhood first started to then the skateboarding that gave me the tenacity of just keep doing something until I've got it and the focus. And
isn't that funny that the adversity of just not being successful at something and having something like some people will find that in a musical instrument, but it doesn't seem to have the same end result. You don't see a lot of special forces people who really like playing the guitar or are excellent flautists or pianists. Ex-Navy SEAL Andrew Arabito, I asked him, I said, like, if you didn't go the route that you did, what do you think you'd be doing? He said, I'd probably be a pro skater. And he runs a company, Half Face Blades. They make knives, and he's got his half pipe in a little skate park inside his building that they have there. But there definitely is a resiliency that comes from the failure, the repeated failure and success.
And skateboard is one of those things. I got a lot of friends that were like skateboarders as kids and are now successful in life. And the weird thing is skateboarding hurts. Like really hurts. It's not just like, oh, my feelings are hurt. Like this actually hurts your body, and therefore you become tougher. You become more like driven to get what you need to do, and you do see people quit skateboarding. And I did watch that when I was growing up, like, oh, this is too much. Yeah. And I remember just being like, no, this isn't too much. This is awesome.
But you wear it like a badge, right? You got a broken arm, you got scabs all up and down your arms and legs. And that's part of the, I guess, the bravado or the badge that you can wear with skateboarding. I know I got an electric skateboard that I ride around on. That's a lot of fun, and a couple longboards. And this summer I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do an ollie properly. And still working on it. It doesn't look good, but working on it.
It doesn't have to look good. You just got to be doing it.
You just got to do it. So then, so 9 years old, I had got into high school, started skating, and you said, I know what I want to do. I want to enlist.
Yeah, well... Yeah, I wanted to, it's weird. I want to be a Marine first just because I come from this Marine town, and that's disgusting. I'm disgusted that I literally even said that out loud. I'm so glad I made a mistake. No, I came like Deal is actually like where the Marines used to be in England. So that was, where I wanted to, what I want to do, because all these adults and all, when I was in the cadets and everything, they were all Marines, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I wasn't, I was 15. I couldn't put on the weight, that they required. And I was like, wow, this is just not going to happen. And then I watched a movie called Bravo 20. Oh,
yes.
And which is a long story, because actually now I'm friends with Chris nowadays. But
interesting.
It's quite interesting how like that movie gave me like insight of wanting to join. And then on there, one of the guys was an ex-para, and I looked into it, read the books, and I was addicted to like reading all those books at the time. And
totally.
The para books started to come up. And then Band of Brothers came on, and I was like, well, you know what? Like, you've seen Saving Private Ryan, they get off the boat and they all die, get shot at off the boat, or you get the guys jumping in the parachute and actually like, I don't know, 80% of those actually land. I was like, hey.
Odds are in their favor.
I was like, hey, and you get jumped from the sky. But the problem was around that time, I was like, I didn't like roller coasters. Right. I didn't like how am I going to do this adrenaline-filled life and be a soldier and, when I'm scared of everything.
Right.
And that, I had no idea what I was going to do.
So you were a cadet?
Yeah.
At what age?
12 or something, 13.
Yeah. And then you had your yourself pushed a bit, some challenges through the cadet system, and a bit of a flavor for what the forces look like.
Yeah, the soldiering side of it was interesting. Like, you know, I knew, part of me knew as a kid, like, this isn't what soldiering's like.
Totally.
You know, but the other kids that I was with believed it. And I was like, yeah, I can buy into this a little bit, but the reality of life is a little bit different. And maybe that's where, like, being younger and having that crap upbringing, especially from the council states, like, you have a real understanding of, be a bit more streetwise than the nice people from Deal.
Right.
You know, so I come from, like, my mindset was slightly different anyway. And then when I spoke to one of the Marine guys, you know, the cadets instructors about it, I was like, what is it actually like? Like, it can't be just running around shooting guns all the time because, like, we're not at war. And, yeah.
So, I guess you went to the recruiting office. Did they give you one of those train passes to go down and spend a weekend with the regiment and see what it's all about?
No, I actually did this. We had to do work experience at school.
Okay.
That's part of the thing in the UK. You have to do like a few days work experience with something to graduate when you're 16.
Okay.
And I managed to get my way into the PWRR, or what we like to call PWHR.
Okay.
No, they were the local regiment, and they had these work experience. So we go out on like a week exercise with them and learn about soldiering. And I was like, now this is more like this is completely different. This is a big boy game now, and all the guys there were running us around and, you know, just doing field craft and basic stuff. And I was like, okay, this is actually what I want. So. And then every time I kept saying, like, oh, I want to be a para, I want to be a Marine. They were just like, they laughed at me. Yeah, and I was like, why are you laughing at, kid? Like,
I've read the books, come on.
Yeah, I was like, how hard can it be?
Right.
Yeah, and they then made us do this, like, 1.5 mile run. Yeah, and the paras thing is, like, 9:30 is, like, the cutoff. And I think when I did the work experience, I was way over that.
Okay.
Like, way over, and they were like, so you want to be a para, but you can't even make the basic time. And I was like, yeah, nope. And then I went home and I was pretty distraught.
Yeah.
And said to my parents, like, this is, you know, how am I going to do this if I can't even make the basic time?
And?
We looked up a triathlon club.
Okay.
And yeah, I just didn't stop. I was so focused on running this 1.5 miles that I got it down pretty quick to 9 minutes. Yeah, and I would go do the PT or our PE lessons would always be at the top of a hill.
Okay.
So we'd have to walk from the bottom of the hill to the field, and then we'd play football or rugby or whatever we're doing for PE. And I decided that I'm now going to run this hill every day for PE. Yeah, and I convinced one of my friends, David, I was like, hey, this is a good idea. Do you want to do it? And he's just like, no. Like, trying to get these, like, 15-year-old kids to come running with me. And anyway, like, he was like, yeah, okay. And then did it a couple of times a week with me. And then the rest, I did it on my own. And over time, I think I gained my cardio up and went to the gym, and I started playing rugby a lot more.
That'll help.
Yeah, a lot and then skateboarding harder and longer. And I think all these things added up to eventually when I did go to the recruiting office and go in, I walked in, I was like, I want to be a para. And they were like, ha. I was like, oh, thanks. Like, why is everyone laughing at me? And bear in mind, like, I was super skinny. I was probably like 70 pounds piss wet through, you know. It was just like, it. You know, you didn't weigh, you didn't look like it. It was like, I didn't really look that tough or anything. And they were like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And in the UK, they make you pick 3 different regiments. Yeah, to where you want to go. So, like, whatever, your first, second, third choice. And I was like, well, I just want to be a para. So I put 1st Battalion Parachute Regiment, 2nd Battalion Parachute Regiment, 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment.
That's awesome.
They were like, you can't do that. And I was like,
I just did.
And they were like, okay, here, whatever, you know, go down, see what you can do. And when when you don't make that grade, we can always come back and change those answers. And I was like, wow, that's, you know,
Yeah, thanks for the support.
yeah. I was like, why are you not supporting? They're like, but you could do PWRR, that's your local regiment. And this is, and they were very pushy on me joining that unit. And they go, you can always go through and do P Company the other way and, you know, do it later on and become a para that way. And I was just like, well, there's no way a unit that selects its members are ever going to accept people from a different regiment.
Right.
And I realized that, you know, straight away.
They're just feeding you a line just to get you where they wanted to.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, you know what? I'm going to stick with my guns. And I'm going to be like, I just want to be a para. So, yeah, went down to Purbright and did our 2 or 3 day little fitness thing. And, yeah, I wasn't at the front and I wasn't at the back. I was in the middle, but I made the grade. Okay. And, yeah. And
it's like your doctor. You go to the doctor's office, you look on the wall. Were they top of the class or they just squeak through? They all get the same certificate on their wall.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, I was shocked because everyone was older than me. I was 16. Yeah, I was definitely just like eyes wide open, like this is insane.
Did you have a goal in mind or where you wanted to go? I mean, like after reading the immediate action Bravo 20 type books, stand by, whatever, was SAS in the lights or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say like, you know, trying to get in the SAS was probably one of those goals, but I think every soldier who joins has that goal.
I would say
quietly, secretly in the back of their heads.
Yeah.
And then the reality comes in later on in your career.
Okay. So 3 para, and that, so you said SFSG, would that be what 3 para is, or is that a separate group within 3 para?
No, so when I joined, SFSG didn't exist.
Right.
We just had the 3 battalions in our reserve battalion. And we just, as you go through our basic training, which is 6 months of just randomness is the only way I could describe it, because it did seem like it sets you up. It's very physically demanding, and every day was crazy. They'd wake you up at 3 a.m, 2 a.m, screaming at you, just having you like box each other in the middle of the night, boxing it. Like we used to have like one man, one mattress used to get shouted a lot, and everyone used to jump out of bed, grab their mattress, and then you'd stand against the wall and take and someone else would punch it. There was a lot of stuff that was there. We had corridor Olympics that was they'd have like 4 abreast in a little tiny corridor trying to race each other. Like there was some
funny
random stuff, like even, you know, around this time, Bravo 2, like I said, not Bravo 2, Band of Brothers was on. So there's a really funny scene in that movie that will stick to me to this day. And it was when they got spaghetti. And they went down and they ate it all, and then they ran up the hill and everyone was puking on the way up. And I'm pretty sure my instructors must have just watched that, because they were like, we're going to recreate this. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing.
Fun.
Because one night we had spaghetti. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, oh, this
I know what's happening next.
Scene. And the first guys came through, and as we're coming into the line of the cookhouse, they're dumping food on us. And when they got to the end of the line, the first guys just had their food dumped in the bin, so they didn't actually eat anything. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. And then they were told to run outside. So the first couple of guys in the line didn't get any food. So I was just like, as soon as it got dumped onto my plate, I just started eating. Yeah, and we got to the lane and then just got dumped out, and I grabbed an apple. Yeah, that was just there. And I ran outside and gave it to my buddy, who was the first one.
Yep.
And I got caught doing that.
Whoops.
Yeah, they were like, Flem, what do you think you're doing? And I was like, just stood there. And they were like, no, what were you doing? I was like, oh, I saw that he didn't eat, and I grabbed him an apple. That's stealing.
Oh, yeah, that's stealing.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Yeah, so the next thing is we're all push-up position down. We're waiting for everyone to think. Everyone else is doing the same thing now, like eating their spaghetti as we go. And we're all doing push-ups outside, waiting for the last ones to come out. And they're like, no one ever steals from us, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I was like, okay. And I thought, there we go. Now, the next thing is we go to this hill, and we're just like running up and down this hill all night while everyone pukes. And yeah. And at that time, it felt like it was my fault, because I was the one who stole.
Yeah, theft. That's what it's called.
Yeah. So now it's like it's now my fault. Like they had a reason to punish us. Yeah, and I was that reason. So
gotta love those mind games, eh?
And there was times, throughout my training that they were trying to get rid of people. You realize there was so many people wanting to be paras. They needed to weed it down to before we get to week 19, which is P company, which is a bunch of tests. But they need to weed those numbers down and separate the men from the boys. And all the way through, you'd have people just leave randomly. You'd come back to the block after doing some PT, and there's like 2 beds missing, or 2 bed space packed up and gone. So that was a unique feeling because I was, I now can't remember those guys' names, and I remember at the time that they were really good friends of mine.
Right.
And that's weird in my mind. Is like, fuck, I don't remember those names.
Well, you've heard of type 1 fun, type 2 fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so this sounds like type 2 fun. Like you can look back with fond memories and say, look, there was a good challenge and they made it through it. But while you're doing it at the time, did you recognize this as something that you enjoyed, or did you hate the...
No, I hated this. Like every single moment, like I hated this.
So how did you mentally prepare yourself for each day?
I just woke up and I was like, okay, just get through the day. And it was just one day at a time. And 6 months is just like, okay, another day. And it's just like, I was like, eventually, these days will all be done. Like, I can't be here forever.
Right.
Even though at the time I remember, like, I was 16, I was like, it feels like I'm going to be here forever.
That's a big part of your life, 6 months at 16, right?
Well, it's different to that because I was actually at, we have a thing called Army Foundation College. So we're actually, when I first joined, I didn't go straight to the depot. Yeah, I actually went to this Army Foundation College in Harrogate.
Okay.
And we spend a year there learning how to soldier, try and build up our academic, qualifications. We're only 16 years old. Yeah, so they put us through some schooling and whatever else. And at that time it's a year long. And then at the end of that year, then you've got another period to go to the depot and actually be an adult soldier as well. So it's almost like a year and a half of training.
Wow.
So even though the first part of the year at the college isn't as difficult, you were expected a lot more. Because if you said, oh, I want to be a para, the standard's like, you have to be at this level all the time. But how do you be at that level for an entire year? Yeah.
You feel like giving up?
Oh, plenty of times. Like during the Harrogate phase, I never thought about giving up.
Okay.
Because nothing was like too crazy hard. Yeah. And during that time, I had an instructor there called Brian Budd. Brian Budd later on went on to win a Victoria Cross, and he was actually my instructor. And every single day he would come in and he was very like stoic and would say something,
Inspiring.
Inspiring. You're just like, wow, how are you so fucking cool? But, and it was like a figure that would then mentor you through, and it wasn't as aggressive as Depot. And then I went to Depot and then it was a different ball game. They're like trying to get rid of you. Yeah. So the AFC is trying to build you up to be a soldier from a 16-year-old boy, and Depot is trying to destroy you and try and get you out of there so they can select who they want out of their, selection process.
Were there any pieces of wisdom that you were given or that you had that helped you through that?
Just one day at a time.
That's it, eh?
Yeah, I just remember that, just one day at a time. And that's probably what stuck with me in Depot until I did want to give up. Now, our crew or our Depot crew, when you wanted to leave, you could leave at any time. You just had to fill out a McDonald's application form.
I love it.
Yeah, and I was like, this is psychological abuse. And to be honest, out of everything that was hard, it was signing that bit of paper to go to McDonald's was actually the one thing that kept me from not wanting to do it.
That's interesting.
And I remember I didn't sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another thing used to hang from a, pull-up bar.
Okay.
So you'd knock on the door, you're like, I want to leave, Corporal. And they're like, up on the bar. And they're up on the bar and then read through your McDonald's application form to make sure you're good.
So were you up on that bar?
I was up on that bar.
How many times?
Once.
Okay.
But I didn't fill out the McDonald's application form. And they were like, you haven't done anything. I was like, I want to leave. And I didn't feel it. And so they like shouted at me like, what the hell are you doing? They're like, Flynn, get away. Fuck off. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I go to the bar and ran off. And then I got shouted down that evening. And it was Brian Budd on the phone. Yeah. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I want to leave, Corporal. He's like, why? He's like, oh, it's too hard. It's too hard. What are you talking about? It's too hard. Of course it's hard. Like, you're not going to be in para without it being hard. Yeah. He goes, you managed to do Harrogate. And I think you'll be good enough. Just, you got to believe in yourself. And he goes, just look up at the corporal. And I looked up at the corporal, and my application to leave, he just ripped up.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh. He goes, and then the phone hung up.
Awesome.
And that was that. So to this day, the reason I was still in Para Depot is because of Bri Budd.
Wow.
And and then my instructor at the time, and he just looked at me and he was like, Flynn, fuck off.
That is cool.
And I was
so
like,
that stuck with you.
That stuck with me, and I remember that day, and that's probably my weakest moment I've ever been in my life of failing and giving up. And from that moment, I was like, I'm also pretty young, and I'm like, well, I'm not even allowed to quit. How am I meant to quit if I'm not allowed to quit? And that psychological thing stayed in my head, and I was like, well, I'm not even allowed to quit.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and then I just went day by day, and I was like, well, I better get through this then.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
If quitting's an option that's on the table, okay, it's always sitting there in the back of your head. If they take that option away, you have no choice but to continue pushing through. Yeah. And things get easier.
Oh, they do, and I gave up in the mindset of like I'm gonna quit, and I just went day by day, and the only other thing that stayed in the back of my head is they can fail me. So it's got to be them now who fail me. Yeah, and in my mind, I was like, well, I'm still scared of roller coasters. I still haven't done any, don't want to do this, and I'm gonna have to parachute at the end of this course. Like, how am I going to learn to parachute when I'm petrified? And that stuck in my mind too. And I was like, well, the only thing I got going for me is that they fail me, and they don't want me.
Were you kind of secretly hoping when things got really hard that maybe they would fail you and that'd be an easy way out?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when it was cold, wet, hungry, miserable, it's snowing, I was dug into a trench, and you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I even here? Yeah, and you're like, well, they might fail me, and it's just one of those things, but I refuse to lower my effort.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, they're gonna fail me, but you know what? If they're gonna fail me, I'm still gonna stand there and be like, I'm going out on my shield. They've, I put all the effort I could, but they didn't. It just wasn't good enough for their standard, and that's how. Anyway, it backfired, and I passed.
It backfired. Oh man! So gearing up for jumping, they work you through gradually higher heights on lines and kind of getting you up to it, and then out a plane on a static line, or how's that work?
Yeah, so you do during P Company. There's a bunch of events that happen. This is our final selection, and we have to do 10 milers, 20 milers, and there's a thing called the Trinasium, which is a 60-foot scaffolding pole, and there's a bunch of different obstacles on there, like an illusion jump that is like one set higher than the other, so it looks further away.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to just you stand there and you just look straight ahead, and the instructor's like, stand by, go, and then you just have to, as soon as they say go, you have to move. Yeah, if you get one hesitation, they'll mark you once, and you have one more chance, and then you're done. Climb down and you're gone. So we did that, and I just was like, oh, I'm not going to quit now. So I just ran and jumped these things. I was like, well, in my mind, I'm like, well, there's no way that these things are too far apart that people can't physically jump them. Hundreds of people have done this before me, and hundreds of people are going to continue doing it after me.
Right.
So I was like, well, okay. And then there's one called the Superman jump.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a huge cargo net that I don't know the distance from the actual ledge to the cargo net, but you have to jump on this seesaw. So you have to step one step, and it puts you off balance.
Yeah.
And these things are only a foot wide. Okay. And you have to keep running, and then eventually just jump off this ledge, arm out like a Superman, and then your arm goes through the cargo net, and then you just catch it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't want to do this.
Take some nerve.
Yeah, and I remember just stood there. I did everything else, like I was fine. You get up to the top, you touch your toes, and and you're like, whatever. And then this Superman jump, I was like, nah, I'm gonna fail this. And I just looked up, and I was like, as soon as standby, what happened, I was like, okay, ready. And I still thought I was gonna fail, and then when go happened, it just like instinctively I was running, and I was like, well, I guess the training works.
I guess so. I guess so.
And the next thing is I'm in the air and I got my arm out. And once I left that moment, it was, a thing changed in me, because after that week of our selection, like I didn't feel as scared of everything.
Was there a disassociation perhaps at some of these stages there where you just have to disassociate the mind from what you're actually doing until you can start combining them and kind of enjoying the process?
Yeah. And like, I never enjoyed P Company. I never enjoyed Depot. I never enjoyed any of the Army's, selection processes, but looking back now, I definitely enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It brought me a lot more joy than I thought it would at the time.
Right.
So
push you harder.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you have a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And where other people quit, when it starts getting hard, that's where people typically end up just, okay, I'm done, I'm quitting. And that's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary.
Yeah, and it sounds bad, but I got something out of watching someone quit. So it's almost like I felt their like energy, and then I just like I watched someone quit on a 10-mile run, our boot march, we call tabbing. Yeah, and as we're tabbing, I watched someone quit. Like I felt good. It's almost like I got their boost, the energy that they had left got into me, and I was like, okay, cool, I can go now.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was like, clearly it didn't happen.
Well,
but in my mind,
did it or didn't it? I mean, if you felt that,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just felt a bit of like, I'm still doing it, and that's a 28-year-old man.
Right.
I'm 16, 17. Like this is cool. I can do this. Yeah, and then you watch someone else quit, and you're like, wow, he's 21. Yep. And I just kept getting the only way I describe it is like the energy of that person, and be like, okay, I can now keep going.
That's pretty cool, because your mind is the thing that's going to separate you. You can endure a lot of pain, but if you're giving up in your mind, it sure makes it difficult. I just think if I'm going up in the hills, and I'll just tab tactical advance towards battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for the listeners, if I'm going out in the hills and I'm having a bad day, there's a lot on my mind, and I'm having all these fights in my head, and I'm drained. I'm going up the hill, I'm drained, and everything other than what I'm supposed to be thinking about is going on in my head, and it's a slog, but you do it. And other days you go up there and you're present, you're in the moment, and you're enjoying every step, and you're just flying up. And if you can do that to yourself, if you're in the drained -9 place mindset where you're thinking about giving up, but hey, someone else just gave up, I'm going to absorb their powers, or whatever it takes to have that little mind shift. I think that's a pretty cool observation.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, and who knows, there might be someone else who's more intelligent than I am, could probably tell you what that actually is. But it's definitely one of those, like, I still feel it today, when you're hiking up the Chief, and when someone's struggling in front of you, and then you eventually get to overtake them, and you're just like, I'm just going to walk a little bit faster than you now.
That's right.
Yeah. They feel drained. They're like, how are you doing this? And you're going, just keep going and look normal.
Yep, been there.
Yeah. So, I think we all feel what I'm trying to, explain, in maybe different capacities, even in the gym. You're looking over and you're like, okay, I'm going to do one more rep. That person's looking at me.
That's it. I do running. Okay, I'm so tired. I'm just going to take a break. Nope, car's coming, better run. And that was always a game. And if cars kept coming, then I never rest, right? Yeah. But if I'm tired and there's no cars, that was I can have a little bit of a walk now, right? But just interesting. So when working your way, what was your first jump like?
Oh, my first jump. Jeez. What did we do? Yeah, it was out of a C-130. And it's weird because we finish our training, we do our pass and out parade. And then you're meant to go to Bryce Norton and do your jumps. And then, then you become like a winged like paratrooper and everything else. However, whatever was going on with the C-130s at the time, probably budgets or whatever, there wasn't planes for us to jump out of. So we got sent straight to battalion. Now, if you go to an airborne unit, as a young recruit with no wings, you are now a wingless bird.
Yeah.
So they call you a penguin.
Okay.
So now for months we were known as these fucking penguins walking around. And it was like the moment I thought, like, I'd done all this process. I knew I was going to be back at the bottom of the pile. I knew I'm going to have to, like, you know, earn the respect from the guys in the battalion, especially the ones that are already, you know, been to Iraq, been to Afghanistan, or wherever they've been before. And I turn up and I'm just like, I don't even have wings on my arms, you know. And now it's like, not only I can't gain respect from anyone because I haven't even got these wings. So I was in battalion for a little while before that. We even got to go on our jump course.
Okay.
Yeah, and eventually by that point, it didn't matter how scared I was of jumping. I was like, I need these wings.
Can't be a penguin.
I can't be a penguin anymore. Like, I'm not going back to battalion without these wings. So, yeah, I don't really remember the first jump. I do remember not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as most paratroopers will tell you, they hate jumping. Yeah,
Really?
especially around. Yeah, I haven't met many paratroopers that like military jumping.
Okay.
It's not.
Why? It's too regimented.
Getting in there is fine. You know that when the person in front of you starts moving, you're just moving. You don't really hear all the like stand by go, and you just run out the door and you just hit it. And usually it's like 800 feet, or you know, like operationally we can do anywhere from 600 to 1,000 feet is what we do in the UK.
Okay.
So I think on average we did like 800 feet jumps, and by the time your parachute's opened, you've looked where you are, clear your airspace, lower your container. Yeah, you're almost like 5 seconds from the ground now, and then you're landing and you're coming down 12 feet per second. So it's like jumping off a really high wall.
Right.
Yeah, no real, like nowadays when I base jump, like I have toggles that can flare and I can tiptoe land and everything. But no, back then it's like 12 feet per second. It's like bang, feet, knees, head, everything, bang, that hurts.
PTF.
Yeah, your PLF.
PLF, that's it.
Yeah, parachute landing fall, but you can practice all those PLFs all day, but like, yeah, no,
No, I mean, just put your feet together, and then what happens.
Yeah, I remember the saying, they say feet and knees together and hope for a good landing.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's good. And even at that point when I, you know, was parachuting, I never thought that this was going to become a major component of my life later on. Yeah,
So you got involved with some counterterrorism work.
So in Free Power, I went to Afghanistan in 2006. So I got my wings and I went back to battalion and we got told that we were going on pre-deployment, and that was really quick. And I was like, Jesus, okay. Next thing I'm in Oman, and we're training out in Oman, getting ready for Afghanistan. And big thing at the point, Iraq was all over the news.
Right.
Yeah, it was Iraq. And I'm telling my parents I'm going to Afghanistan, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. It was no big deal. Like literally all my friends at home, like no one really thought about it. And yeah, they're like, okay, Afghanistan, but the war's in Iraq. Yeah. And it was a unique thing. And we're like, well, we're going to be the first real operational tour in Afghanistan. And no one really expected anything. And I don't even think the battalion expected what was going to happen. Because we got issued Arctic gear. We had like full snow white gear. We had desert gear. We had jungle gear. We had green. Like we had bags of gear, just like loaded up. And we were like, what are we actually expecting here? We had woolly. I don't even know half the stuff we got issued because it was just stuff I'd never seen before. And we went to Afghanistan in 2006 and landed and. Anyway, it was a lot warmer, and we ended up ditching a lot of the Arctic gear pretty early on.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, but the counterterrorism thing all came later on in SFSG. So it was that first deployment as a young 18-year-old paratrooper was pretty unique because a lot of things have come out of that.
Things like
the instructor that I had who saved me from like actually quitting the unit, actually went on to win the Victoria Cross in that deployment. The Victoria Cross being like the highest gallantry award in the UK and Canada. Yeah, he did. I think he pretty much saved everyone in his unit that day.
Wow.
Is iconic. They got pinned down in a field, and eventually it all went quiet, and no one knew why. But with all the stories of everyone who was close to him, was he stood up and charged the 3 Taliban, and he was found dead with his bayonet fixed, 3 dead Taliban around him, and his unit managed to extract. So his platoon extracted, did a reorg, and found out that Bry was missing. So they had to go back later on to find him, and then that's where they found him. But
Holy crow.
yeah, so
What a hero.
he is probably like a hero to me in many ways.
Right.
And, you know, I have him tattooed on my arm now, you know, so it's, you know, it's a good memory because he's like, he's made, I think he structured my life, like when I was in the army, to where I'm at today. He was also the first ever skydiver. Yeah. And
He was?
the first ever skydiver I met.
Okay.
Yeah, not the first ever
Right.
skydiver. But he was the first skydiver I met. And I remember talking to him about it before, like Wild End Battalion. And then once he died, I had this like, I was super upset, obviously, and devastated, and couldn't really control what was, you know, the emotions I was going through. But someone said to me, like, you need to like take his like memory and build something, like take something from him. Yeah, like he obviously not just a memory of like him making sure you stayed in the unit, but take something else. Like, what else could you take from him that would benefit you and that would keep his memory alive? And at the time, I couldn't really think. And then one day, I was like, skydiving. I'm going to be a skydiver.
Really?
Yeah, and when I was on a different deployment later on, I did on our R&R, I went down to the south of Spain and learned to skydive because Brian was this skydiver that, yeah, stuck with me. So
That's really cool.
yeah, for many reasons, like this one guy who was my first instructor in the army is like, you know, the reason I do a lot of things today.
Isn't it crazy the impact that we can all have on people's lives?
And they probably never know.
They probably never know.
Yeah.
Do you think he ever knew?
No, I mean, he probably knew that, like, you know, he knew because he came to my passing out parade when I actually became para. I mean, he knew that affected me, but did he realize that one day that kept me in the unit, like, stuck with me for the rest of my life and, you know, helps me, you know, even when I do deal with things today and I have young people working under me that I can now, like, I remember that moment and, like, how can I have that impact on the person who's coming to me now being like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm. One day, one moment. It's such a small thing for him to give. Very cool. That's something that I think that's something that we should all kind of think about. What are we doing? How are we conducting ourselves? How are our little actions that we might not be thinking too much of? How is that impacting those around us who are looking up to us, who are watching us, who need that level of inspiration?
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like there's things that you will do and things that you will say and that will stick with people forever. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but someone said, oh, I remember when you told me this. I was like, wow.
I usually just keep my mouth shut.
I don't actually remember saying that. And was I drunk? And they were like, yeah, but you said this. And I was like, wow, I never thought you were going to act on it, dude.
May have been drunk, but it didn't diminish the... Yeah. Usually I'm just like, well, yep. I rack my brain and I'm trying to remember. I think it might be an ADHD thing, trying to remember these things because, like, I'll ask my wife, I'm like, I don't remember all of these different events that people are telling me about. Yeah. And, I think I'm supposed to be mad at this person, but I don't know why. And she's like, oh, here's this laundry list. I'm like, oh yeah, I should be mad at that person, right? But I don't retain this stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're like that too, eh?
Oh, 100%. If it's not present and it's not affecting me right now, it's like, doesn't matter. You know,
totally.
Like people might think I absolutely hate them, and I'm like, dude, I've not thought about you in years.
That's right. That could be even worse, right?
I'm like, and it's good and bad. It's like, I also like, because then I have really good friends. Like, I have really good friends in the UK. Yeah, and it kicks me because I'm like, I see him pop up on Facebook. I'm like, oh, dude, I need to message you, you
Right.
know, like because I've been a bad friend, but it's not. I haven't been bad because I'm like ignoring you. It's like I'm just like so focused on what I've got, and I lose. You know, I need to stay focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah, and
selfish. It's well, the ADHD thing. They say, easily distracted, right?
Yeah.
But the other side is hyper focus. If it's something that's interesting, or inability to break focus on certain things, whatever, however you want to term that one. I know you and I've talked a little bit about that in the past. I was diagnosed grade 3 ADHD. Saw a bunch of different people for it, and was put on an experimental dosage of Ritalin.
Wow.
Dad was a cop, and he's like, I don't know what this Ritalin stuff's what everyone on the street's using, right? But I was the highest dosage of Ritalin for the province, and did that up until grade 7. And finally in grade 7, I'm like, I'm done. I'm taking myself off this cold turkey. I'm not going into grade 8.
What did it do to you?
Well, there's two sides. There's what I felt, and there's what like the teachers would report.
Okay, yeah.
So the teachers would say, did Travis take his Ritalin today? Because I can sure tell there's something different, right? Apparently I was a lot easier to work with, a lot more, less outbursts, and less disruptive in the class when I was on the Ritalin. For me, it disrupted my appetite. It gave me headaches like crazy. I remember going outside at when school's over and looking around. I'm like, how is everybody able to open their eyes? I could barely see. Like, I'm squinting. It's so bright. How do people? And I never put 2 and 2 together that maybe it was the medication dilating the pupils. And like, I'd stand out there forever, just like I could barely open my eyes. And I'm looking at, am I getting a ride home today? Do I have to take the bus? What's going on? And of course, in the social side, someone would drop a Mentos or something in the class, and teacher's like, oh, whose is this? Oh, it's a smart pill. That's Travis's smart pill. So I'm like, I don't want these smart pills going into high school, right? But what outbursts, consequences. Thinking about consequences is a typical sort of ADHD thing. It just didn't factor into my mind. Like how you said, well, if it's not right here, right now, right? I can think about the consequences associated with this in a short-term sort of capacity, but I just do stuff and not think about how that affected my health tomorrow, if I jump off the roof today, right? If how it affects other people. So that was always an interesting one, impulsivity.
Yeah. Yeah. I can. I guess I can relate to that. Yeah, I never got diagnosed with ADHD, and only as an adult now I'm, a bunch of these ADHD. Probably because I've thought about it. Now it's popping up on Instagram loads. These videos, and they're like, if you have ADHD, you got this, and this. You're like, oh yeah, that's me. So I start researching it, and then obviously as you research it, more and more videos are pumped into Instagram.
That's
feed,
right.
And just like. Oh, yeah, and you're like,
every day you see it.
Every day I see it, and I'm like, well, maybe I have this. And then I look at my Instagram feed myself, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely have ADHD. Like, I'm doing way too much stuff here. There's
high dopamine seeking, rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria is another thing that people with ADHD will experience.
Yeah, and I hang on to people's sentences. Like if someone was annoyed with me, they would say something, and then it would stick with me, that sentence, for like days.
That's the rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria.
And I'm just like, why am I even caring what you think? You're an absolute idiot. Like, I really, like...
Right.
Someone said something about me the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a couple months ago. And it stuck with me for ages. And I'm like, you're an absolute idiot. Like, you're a job's worth. Like, I got no time for you. Like, I do not care why. Like, and then luckily when I say that to myself, it's like, that's the break.
Okay, good.
But I just remember, like, for a long time, it was just like, I was like, getting annoyed with this person. And then when I eventually can, like, look in the mirror and be like, Jamie, this guy doesn't matter. You're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's right. Cool. And then you can move on with your day. But then these little things stick with you all the time. And
yes. Yeah. The learning. You made a post on Instagram there before about, I don't learn things traditionally, or maybe I don't learn things quickly. And that can be something that people with ADHD will say or think. And it doesn't mean they're not smart. It doesn't mean they can't. But the traditional method for teaching sometimes doesn't jive with how somebody with ADHD will learn. And school system isn't set up to accommodate all these different sort of learning styles.
Yeah, there's like, I won't go too much, but like right now, when I was going through like the fire department recruitment process, there's a lot of things you got to memorize.
Totally.
Like and I'm like, I can't memorize stuff. I have to do, and they're like, hey, what's this? And you're just like, oh, I don't know. Just give me a little bit more time, and I promise, like, I will work my ass off to make sure that I know what you need me to know. I just can't memorize stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, that's sort of thing that I struggle with. So I feel like my learning is definitely, I need to get hands on things, and it doesn't, even people who come back with the most interesting facts about parachutes, and I've been parachuting for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no idea what that material made up of. like, I just know that if you jump this certain way, this is how you need to do things, and I can tell you why, and I can articulate now why you need to do certain aspects in the sport.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not going to go down this route of like, it's made up of this F111 material, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, I don't really care. Like, it's a material that clearly someone more intelligent than me can make, and actually let me do my job.
So Operation Pegasus Jump. I think have you done that?
I just did that this little bit.
So a while back, a friend said, you got to come on this Operation Pegasus Jump. I'm like, well, this looks neat. I'm not a big fan of heights, and but I've always wanted to do this, to push myself, to kind of overcome it. And what a perfect situation, right? So I call up the school there, Campbell River, I think?
Campbell River, yeah.
Yeah, call him up, and he says, love to have you, Trav, but this is for active and past military and first responders, full stop. Well, I'm neither of those, aside from cadets when I was younger, right? But that doesn't count. And so I'm like, okay, damn, really wanted to do this program. Well, how about I go, like, if I wanted to go and just do this outside of Pegasus, is that something I could do? Oh, yeah, not a problem. We start going down that road. I'm like, okay, how tall are you? 6'6". How much do you weigh? 250. You're going to have a problem. Right? Like, you could parachute tanks. How come you can't parachute? But I guess you got to go tandem, and I'm sort of on the threshold. And so I thought, well, maybe the ADHD kicked in. Like, I don't like not being able to do things and the challenge. So I'm like, I talked to some friends who are pilots, and I said, if I picked up a parachute and I watched enough YouTube videos, would you let me jump out of your plane? Right? Nope. Okay. So I did the next best thing. If I can't get the plane, what if I just jump off of land, right? And so I picked up a paraglider. I got a Swing Arcus 2. I think they're out of Germany, with a cross reserve on the thing. And I figure I'll watch my YouTube videos. I'll get this figured out. It looks pretty easy, right? I've seen Jamie do stuff like this. Right? Come on. And my kids are like, Dad, we don't want to see you the fastest person going down to the ground, right? We want to, kid, can you reach out? And my wife as well. So I found a fellow here locally, and he can teach paragliding as an engineer. So he sends over an email, nice long email, and I read through all the information he's got in this thing. And then a while later, I get another email. Okay, I'll read that one later. Next morning, I come back, and I got 8 more emails on top of that. I'm like, if it was really important, it would be an email number 1. Right? So I didn't read any of them, right? And other than the first one, and I show up and doing the training with him, and he's talking about things as if I knew what he's actually talking about. I'm like, just show me, right? Let's just spend a little bit of time. Super knowledgeable, super nice guy, engineer background, very, like you're saying, what's the material made out of? What's this? What's a tensile strength? How do we calculate that? So I'm finding it challenging, but I've done a number of mountain jumps so far, and I found the most nervy part was your first time just kind of working up to jump off the edge. Once you're up there, it's a process of just working your way through and flying the thing. And I mean, it seems pretty damn safe. And if it isn't, I can throw a reserve. So like, what do I have to worry about, right? Sounds like we've got a sort of similar learning style in that respect. He's still having a tough time trying to figure me out. And I'm having a hard time wondering why he charges $15 a ride up the mountain every time you go down. He's like, I'm preparing you for the culture. This is what they do. They give you got to pay them for a ride up. I said, well, but I paid you for a course. Like this is, anyways, I digress.
Yeah, no, it's really funny because it sounds similar to my how I got into base jumping. So yeah, I was in the army and met this guy, Van Rensburg. He's a South African guy. Had a big poster on his wall.
Okay.
This guy called Dukes. Yeah, I didn't know him at the time. Pretty good friend now. But yeah, he was this jumping off a building, big yellow pants, and I was like, that's cool. How do we do that? And he's like, oh, I do it. I was like, yeah, really? I was like, you're a lunatic. And he's like, yeah, we'll set up a bridge swing and we'll learn to jump.
Yes.
And I'm like, that makes sense. No, not. It actually doesn't make sense. Don't ever learn from the way I learned to base jump.
Okay. So I did the bridge swing stuff as a teenager.
So we did the little bridge swing, but we went bigger.
Okay.
So we had all our ropes and we're setting up, we're drilling anchors and we're doing all sorts of stuff in a little town called Merthyr Tydfil in Wales. And we're practicing jumping off this viaduct. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to learn to base jump. But I was skydiving at this point and, I had a couple hundred skydives. So I felt comfortable under a parachute. And then I went to the skydive center I was at and I was like, hey, I want to learn the base jump. Everyone was like, no. And it's pretty old school back then. Everyone was just like, no, you got to be like, sucking these guys' dicks the entire time, buying them beers all the time, going out ground crewing for them, telling them how amazing they are. And I find it really difficult to, lick people's asses. It's not my personality. I'll respect you, but as soon as you think that you're above me, I'm like, nah, man, we're good. We're good. Like you're an equal.
Right.
And everyone's an equal. But if you're going to sit there and pretend you're above me,
makes it tough.
It makes it tough. So I can't respect you. So we were, everyone said no. And I was like, okay, this sucks. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll just do it anyway. Like, how hard can it be? So I watched a ton of YouTube videos. And I was like, and everyone's like, oh, I think Jamie's probably going to do this anyway. And, someone came up to me and was just like, and actually, a guy called Alistair. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine now. He was like, Jamie, you're going to die. I was like, well, that's funny because we're all going to die, mate.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, you're going to die base jumping. And I was like, probably, there's a high chance of it. And he was like, no, not just like you're going to die base jumping. Like you're going to die base jumping because you're an idiot and you're going to you don't know what you're doing and you're making a huge mistake. And I was like, are you going to help me? And he's like, no. Well, I was like, well, why are you here? Like why are you here? What's the point?
Yeah.
And I ignored him and I left it and I went away and I was very driven and I was like, how do I do this safely? So I would skydive and at the time I was already competing at a high level in skydiving. I was on the British skydive team and I was in a discipline that is very similar to base jumping, but you're still jumping out of a plane. The parachutes are packed the same. It's called canopy formation, so the canopies are packed differently than normal skydive rigs, but very similar to base jumping rigs. And the canopies fly the same. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm getting close to this. And eventually one day I was like, okay, I'm going to do it tonight. So I got a friend that was in my unit and I was like, hey, I'm going to do that base jump tonight. I think I'm ready. And we went up to this place in Wales and we climbed the tower and I went up and I was like, okay, this is it, 470 feet. And he was like, are you ready? I was like, yep, let's do it. And I just ran off the tower, through the little parachute opened, and I was like, that's it.
That's it?
That's it? Like, really?
Did you have to watch out for lines or anything else? Or?
Well, it was sort of overhung. And
okay.
Yeah, and the parachute opened, I was like, oh. And now it's just like skydiving. I just landed, and I was like, oh, that's not that special. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I grabbed my gear. I was happy, I was stoked. I went back to the parking lot and then just turned on all the lights, packed my parachute, and went and did it again. Anyway, this is a big no-no in the base jumping world.
Pack your parachute again right there.
Yeah, right there. And I went and did a second jump that night, which is a big no-no because in the UK, it's not necessarily legal. So
right.
You're like, you should be getting your gear and disappearing.
Yes.
And there's me with all my lights on, packing my parachute. So the ethics went out the window and I was like, and I didn't know anything ethics-wise. And then people weren't jumping with me back then. And, I was this young paratrooper who my shit didn't stink, you know, and I just kept, you know, me and my buddy, we just jumped everything that we could, and we just sort of taught ourselves and bounced off each other and survived the first probably year and a half of base jumping until I got paid to come over to Canada to teach a canopy formation course.
Okay.
So I went to Toronto, and near Niagara, and someone was like, oh, you know, I'm a base jumper. Towards the end of my course, I was teaching in skydiving, and he was just like, "You're a base jumper?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why didn't you say anything?" I was like, you know, in my head, I'm like, "Well, everyone doesn't really want to jump with me in the UK anyway, because I'm like this idiot, really doing my own thing, not really following the rules." And then he goes, "Yeah." And so I told him the story, and he's like, "Yeah, if you told me that, I probably wouldn't have taken your course. But now I've got to know you on this course. Like, I like you. I like the way you do things, and I can see how like rigid you are when you're teaching. So I'm only going to imagine this is how you are in base jumping." Yeah, he goes, "Tell me everything." And he sat me down, and we had a beer, and I told him how I did it, and why I did it, and why I did it this way and that way. And he was just like, "That makes sense, but you're an idiot." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "What we're going to do is, can you stay in Canada an extra couple of days?" I was like, "Yeah, I can stay another 5 more days." So I changed my flights, and he went and borrowed a bunch of base rigs off his friends, and we went and did like 4 or 5 base jumps a night around Toronto. He was like, "I am going to get you to a decent level, and then you go home and do your thing." So over the next 5 nights, but the one rule was he had to go to work during the day. So my job was packing all the parachutes during the day.
Right.
Which took me a long time. You know, so on average, when you start, it's about an hour to pack a base jumping parachute.
Wow.
So it took me a long time to pack all these rigs. And every night we'd go out and he'd teach me a new thing or two. And then, at the end of it, this guy, Brad, actually like pretty much saved me base jumping. And then I went back to the UK, and I had a new outlook on ethics and how you should be doing things. And then I started reaching out to base jumpers and being like, "Hey, I totally did this wrong, but this is where I'm at now. And, you know, I'm trying to change the errors of my way." So I started off base jumping in a completely wrong way, you know, and, you know, trying to reinvent the wheel. And the wheel doesn't need inventing because it's already dangerous enough.
Yeah, no kidding.
Over time, I changed my stance, and then years down the line now, I give back once a year and try and teach someone or mentor someone. And, you know, I don't want to teach courses. I don't want to do make this a money maker.
Right.
But I believe that I was very, very lucky at the beginning, that now is my time to, you know, I've learned a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge over the years now to finally give back to the sport.
Well, what happened over in Kamalia?
Oh, Kamalia. Oof. Yeah, that was crazy time.
Okay.
So Kamalia is in Turkey. Yeah. So around 2013, I decided that I didn't like my body anymore, and I decided to break my ankle, femur, wrist, elbow, shoulder, and a bit of a concussion, all in one jump. A lot of this goes into cockiness and you know, arrogance and everything else, and my ego was massive at the time. And so leading up to all of this, like I said, being a paratrooper, you get through a selection process. You're now like you're the best of the best that they had that selection. You watched everyone leave. You're like, "Well, I'm fucking better than you. I've done this course. I'm better than you." Yeah, and you're drilled into that.
Right.
You're drilled into it all the time. Like, you're better than everyone else. So cool. I believe that. Yeah. Then I got into skydiving, and I was like on the British skydive team, and I'm teaching people. So I'm like, well, fuck, I'm winning all the competitions in the UK. Like, must be better than most people. So, and then I went to 2012. I went to the base jumping world championships, and I beat the guy that was in that poster in the big yellow pants. Yeah, me and him were in the finals together.
Wow.
And that was like, I looked at him, and it was just like I joined this sport because of your poster, and now me and you are in the finals together.
Wow.
Going to jump. So that was really cool. So that was a year before I got hurt. Anyway, he jumped, he landed, and he hit dead, or what I thought was dead center. And then I beat him by 2 centimeters.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a unique time in my life, and, you know, winning the world championships there in Spain. And you know, I was like, whoa, I don't know how I'm a world champion now, but I fucking am. It's fucking weird. So now I got these things that are like building your ego into like something else, like and eventually I went down to Kamali, Turkey, and they had a pontoon in the middle of the river, and it was like an 8x6 pontoon that you got to land on. Not a problem, but we were wingsuiting out this little microlight, and I was like, well, I don't know what it will be like if the water fills up the wingsuit if I miss. Yeah, and everyone else was like, no, well, don't miss then, just land on the top. I'm like,
exactly.
I'm like, well, yeah, don't miss, but like my mind works in a different way of
yes.
like, because I like to think even every base jump I do now, I try and talk myself out of the base jump. So I'm going, what's wrong? Yeah, I need to find, I'm looking for everything that's wrong. Yeah, but if there's nothing wrong and it's good to go, then it's a good time to jump. Because I've done it backwards, where everyone else wants to jump and tries to rule out everything else, and then they rule out the things that are actually happening. Yeah, so I try and do that in a different way, and I try and teach people that way, because it's a better way to. Okay, well, nothing else can do now, and now I can jump. So anyway, I looked at that and I was like, well, it's not a good idea. So on the way up to where we were going to take off, I found a parking lot, and I was like, hey guys, I'm going to land here. And they're like, but we're filming this show and you need to land here. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm landing here. So do what you need to do. And they're like, well, would you try and land on the pontoon? And I was like, well, it's parallel. And I was like, you know what? I'll open my parachute. I'll see where I'm at. Yeah. And if I feel good at that point, then I'll land and go there. But in my mind, I was thinking I'm going to land in this.
Right.
So there was a lot of things going on in my mind. I was like, well, I was already not committed to this. Like, why not just say, this is where I'm landing? Like, and I probably would have been okay. But then I was like mixed message in my mind and I wasn't really feeling it. Then I got onto the morning of the jump. And funny enough, I wasn't actually even meant to be on the jump. Yeah. That guy in the big yellow pants, Dukes. Yeah. It was him who's meant to be on the jump.
Really?
So we all partied the night before. He was hungover. Couldn't wake him up, and I was having breakfast, and they were like, who wants to fly a wingsuit? And I was like, well, I'll do it. And they were like, okay, jump on, let's go. So I forget my helmet, and we're driving up, and I was like, shit, I forgot my helmet. And they were like, you're not making us go back? And I was like, yeah, let's go back. And I was like, no, you know what, it's only a skydive, just keep going. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what, stop, go back, let's go and get my helmet. Yeah. And everyone was like, Jamie, make up your fucking mind. And I was like, okay, I need my helmet. So I ran back. Yeah, and I grabbed my helmet and I ran in. Everyone's like, oh, now we're going to be late. The wind's going to be, it was tight. And I'm like, oh, so sorry, guys. I was like, look, I'll go last. You guys go before me. Make sure you can get the windows. And if I get a window, then, whatever. So they all jumped and landed on the pontoon. Then it was my turn. I went up and something wasn't feeling right at all. I was like, I have a rule of threes, and I'll tell you that afterwards. But I was already on like the fourth thing that went wrong that morning. Yeah, and I was like, well, you know what? It's fine. It's just a skydive. Yeah, because it's not really a base jump. And I jump out and my wingsuit inflated, and I was like, well, that doesn't feel right. And then it was like a little bumpy with a bit of wind up there, and I was like, well, that's all right. Like, it's fine. I'll just keep flying. And then I opened my parachute, and I was like, I'm still not feeling it. Like, and I'm in the middle now of these two landing areas, and I'm like, no, I'm going for the car park. Like, that's what I committed. And then as I'm flying, I'm getting a bit of turbulence under my parachute, and then my wing is just like dropping lower down. I'm just like, why am I not making this? This is weird. So I look down and I see like this little grassy field, and it's like probably 100 meters short of the actual car park. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, you're world champion base jumper, you've landed on like a coin, like you can land on whatever you need to do. So I was like, yeah, perfect. So I spun it down and I come into land, and as I get down to like 50 feet, so you're like your finals coming in, I'm like, oh shit, that's not a grassy field, that's a boulder field. Yeah, and it's got long grass coming out. So I'm like, oh, I got nowhere else to go, and I'm looking around and it's just boulders everywhere. And I'm like, oh, so I see this huge boulder, probably the size of a car, and I was like, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to try and land on top of it. I can do it. Yeah. And it was my only real chance. And, came into land, and there's a little bit more momentum coming. I had a bit more speed that couldn't wash it off. So as I like landed on this thing, my foot slipped. Yeah, it went down the rock, fell in between another rock, and the momentum carried me forward while my ankle was stuck between the two rocks.
Oh.
So my ankle went to like snap 90 degrees, and then the rest of it, like my wrist, my femur, my elbow, my shoulder, smashed my head. So, and then, you know, I was a medic at the time, so, you know, from the army, so I sort of like looked down at my leg and I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, so I pull it out and it's just dangling 90 degrees. And yeah, that moment I was like, well, fuck knows, these guys don't even know I'm here because they're all filming at the pontoon that's down on the river. And as I'm like assessing my legs, like you couldn't really tell it was a femur break because I broke it so high up, so it was in the pelvis. And I'm thinking, oh, you're going to bleed out now.
That's a hell of a break.
Yeah, no one's going to, you know, my pelvis was swollen and I was like, oh, shit, I'm just going to die here. So I was like, but you're not just going to lie here. You're going to start trying to get out. So there was no way I didn't have a radio on me. Like, why didn't I have a radio? Like, these are, like all these things I'm going, well, why are you not doing the things that you said you would do? But like it goes into like my ego was so big that I was like, of course nothing's going to happen. It's fine. It's a skydive. Yeah. And eventually I was like, well, I guess you got to help yourself. So I started to try and crawl. Yeah. And it's probably the most agonizing half an hour of my life. Yeah, and I was screaming as loud as I could, but you know, I didn't know what else was going on. But everyone else was like, "Where's Jamie?" Like, so they're frantically looking for me. They're driving up to the parking lot. They can't see me, you know, and I'm in this boulder field, further afield, and yeah, and I'm just screaming and crawling, and eventually I get under this tree, and I'm just like, "Well, this is it. I can't go anymore. Literally, I can't move anymore. Like I've given up." And finally, I was like. I laid there and I looked up at the sky and I was like, this is it. I am finally failing at something pretty bad. And I was like, well, it's been good. I was in so much, like the pain was unreal. And I in and out of consciousness? I don't know. But I just remember like just crazy times. And yeah, I grew up Catholic. So I was like, well, you better say something just in case, you know. So I thought as you walk through the valley of shadow of death, and then I broke into Coolio. And I sung Gangster's Paradise instead.
Because that one does stick in the head a little bit better.
Yeah, so I sang that and I made myself laugh and I was like, okay, cool, this is fine. And then luckily someone came across, some Turkish guy, and then I was shouting the mayor's name at him, and then they called the mayor, and then the mayor got the paramedics, and then the paramedics turned up, and 4.5 hours later on a logging road, I was at a hospital and spent, I don't know how many days in a hospital over there, and then it took a long time, and it was pretty gross, because in Turkey, the family normally come and look after you, and I didn't really have a family there because I was at a base jumping event. So we had to pay people to come and clean me and do stuff. The food was terrible. I was broken. The Turkish doctors put me together. Like they didn't really have the machines. So they were like ramming me in. Like I was in a child's like MRI scanner. Yeah, but like my shoulders weren't fit. So they're like, pushing me into the machine. And it's just crazy some of the things that, you see out there. And like, it is crazy. It's a different world. Yeah, and I would describe it's like a really bad prison, and I was on this bed. And over time, I got back to the UK and spent 31 days in hospital in the UK as well.
Psychologically, what's that got to do to you? You're top of the world, and now you're...
I was nothing, and I was completely broken and realized that, well, I'm not invincible. And at that point, you have to remember, like, I did all the cool stuff. Like, I did all the stuff with 3-Power. I was already through the SFSG stuff. I did all my counterterrorism, all the tours I did there that were associated. We worked with B Squadron SAS. Like, we're kicking doors down nightly. I'm a base jumper, skydiver. Like, I've done it, like, a lot in my life. At this point, I'm lying there, I'm like, and now I'm just here. Now what? Like, they're telling me I might not even walk. Like my ankle was so messed up that they thought that it was, there was discussion of having it amputated. And I'm like, how did I go to Afghanistan, Iraq and not get blown up and then I go base jumping and lose my leg? Like, yeah. So yeah, it was a heavy idea of what my life was going to be like. And I thought that was pretty much it.
How'd you deal with that?
Who knows? I got through one day at a time, and it goes back to the training and just one day and see what happens, and I just did, just tackled each day at a time and just worked hard and did what the physio said and got it done. And over time, it just got better. The pain didn't really go away. The pain still bugs me to this day. But yeah, you just got to take one day at a time.
Did it make you gun shy?
No, I was very focused on getting back to base jumping. Luckily, that was like my one goal, to be like, this is what kept me going. Yeah, I was like, you need to get back to base jumping. You need to get back on the horse and do it again. Yeah, because if you don't, this is the end of your base jumping world. Yeah, but I did have a mindset of like, something needs to change. Yeah, because my ego was the thing that fucked me on that jump.
How'd you change it? Or did it change it for you?
It changed it for me, but I also had to look back at everything, like, and microanalyze everything I've ever said to someone. Like, you're like, oh, wow, you did this. And I looked back at all these actions that I did leading up to this and interactions I had with people and arrogance. And it's like, how do I fix this? Like how, I've heard the things people say about you behind your back. And you're like, well, how do I fix that? How do I become a better base jumper? And how can I start again? And then I was like, and then that's where the idea came from. It was like, how about I just start again? Like literally from this moment, I start everything again.
Everything.
So we created a documentary called Back to Basics. And I wanted the story to be like, okay, I was this ex-paratrooper, SF, whatever it is that, I was before, I now need to just start again, and I'm going to then, start from the crash. So it had a little bit of my past in, and then it goes back to the recovery. How do I deal with this mentally, day in, day out, going to the swimming pool, doing all the exercises, and then learning to skydive again, learning to base jump, but doing it this way, doing it the proper way that you are meant to learn to base jump, not the way I did it before. Yeah, and then it got all the way back to actually jumping in front of a huge crowd for a demo. And that was a 6-part documentary series.
So it was a bit of an existential crisis. It changed not just how you jump and how you approach, but how you approached life in general.
Yeah. I realized at that point how lucky I was to like not be a statistic on the base fatality list anymore. Like we have a list of how, people base jumps and how they die, so we can learn from it. And I'm very surprised I wasn't on that list.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I like looking back at how lucky I am is like my name should have been there June 30th, 2013. That should have been my name next to it.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, you had to change. Like I had to change. If I was staying on that same trajectory, it was just not going to work. Like
that's something. I saw that video on someone posted up on Facebook. I think the guy's name was Danik Loyan, something like that. And they're out on a cliffside, looks like by a beach, and one guy's parachute opens and the other guy's doesn't, and splat down he goes.
Oh, Dominic Loyan.
Dominic, yeah. That's it. Or the guys that'll do it without a parachute. He'll just land on the lake or in cardboard boxes or whatever. There's always something more you can do. It's like jumping off rocks into the water. Okay, it's scary, but I think I can do it. Okay, it hurt. It was a bit of a height, but I'm good. I'll do it again. Oh, maybe I can go a bit higher. Maybe I can go higher. There's always, where is that threshold? Where is that line when, like, do you still, I'm asking a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
do you still feel that anticipation? Like when I did my first jump off of just here in Chilliwack on a woodside, and I'm just looking over the edge, and it's like, okay, here I go. I'm going to do it. And you go through the process, but you feel that's probably where the most nerve comes in. And then I'm in the air. It's just like, this is cool. This is really actually relaxing. I should imagine hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jumps that you've done. Do you start to lose that? And do you have to push it further to get that back or what?
People think that all the time. You need to like push it to get to the next level. And for me, I went through like a really dark area of base jumping. Like I got hurt myself, but I also went through the following years of, we lost a lot of people in wingsuit base jumping, you know, so we went through what we would consider dark years of the sport, and a lot of people died, and our sport got a bad reputation of people dying all the time, which just isn't the case for, you know, what actually happens is, but yeah, do we push the limits? Like, yeah, people are going to push the limits. Like, people want to try and be you know, the next name, you know, the next famous name in our sport, you know, being the guy who flies close to things. But that only leads one way. Yeah. So for me, the way I like to do it is try and show people what's possible. You know, like I did bust myself up. I'm now older. I'm not a young 20-year-old base jumper anymore. And I want to show people the beauty of the sport. Yeah, so now I'm interested in showing like really nice pictures or really nice videos that are like shows the beauty of the sport, rather than look how crazy I am. Look how close I am to the ground. Look what I can do that no one else can do. You know, it's not the shock value anymore. Like I love what I do, and if you took the cameras away, I'd still be doing it. But I also have a love for sharing the things that I do and showing what is possible when you focus on it. And maybe I'm definitely an old base jumper now. You know, like there was the old saying when I started, you know, there's old base jumpers and there's bold base jumpers, but there's no old and bold base jumpers. And that it just goes true now. And like I definitely would consider myself an old base jumper, and I look at the younger guys coming up, and maybe you're like, hey, like you're trying to reinvent the wheel. Yeah? You're doing what I did, yeah, and you're doing what someone else did before me, you know, and you there's only one way it's going to end, you know, and you're teaching yourself, and now you're teaching other people, and it's just like, well, you're now surviving. You're not actually really learning the skills and what you need to know. You need to take a step back and actually really learn the sport, because if you can learn the sport, it can be safe, you know, like, or it could be as safe as possible. You know, there's still a big danger factor to base jumping, but
sure, yes.
but if you know, it's a drill, you know, and if you can get every step of the drill right, yeah, then if an accident happens, an accident is just an accident. But if you're trying to tell me that it's an accident, and I'm like, well, hold on a minute, like this is a huge Swiss cheese effect. Like, A, you didn't have anyone mentoring you. B, you're in the wrong gear. You're the wrong weight for the gear you're in. Yeah, you have no idea what you're doing. You haven't skydived. Like, yeah, and now you're trying to tell me this is an accident. Like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah, what do they call it? Unconscious, unconfidence, unaware.
Oh yeah, the 4 levels, the 4 stages of learning. But
I'm in the conscious incompetence stage myself right now. I'm brutally aware of how much I don't know. When I first looked at getting into just a little bit that I've been doing, I was supposed to be doing a podcast over in Chamonix, and the fellow who I was doing a podcast with, it's been delayed, he had to open up a couple of businesses over in the UK, and he's into paragliding, and he's got a speedwing as well. And I thought, well, this is great. I'll pick this thing up, and when I go over there, I could just like see what he does, and I'll follow beside him, and we can go out and do a jump. And I'm learning that maybe going to a place like that, and it's going to take a little bit more practice before I get into it. But at least there's a conscious awareness on that Dunning-Kruger.
Exactly. I was just going to say the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yes,
so that's very prevalent in a lot of things, not just sport, but life in general. And people think that they've done a little bit, and now they think they know more than they know, and
totally,
you know. And it what's interesting now is I consider myself on the other side of that Dunning-Kruger effect. Like, I'm pretty experienced in the base jump world, and sometimes I question my skill level. I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that.
Right.
And you're like, and then everyone's like, well, of course you can do it. What are you talking about? And you're like, yeah, I'm just on the other side now, sort of not doubting yourself, but questioning yourself.
You overthink it because you know so many more variables.
Yeah, and now I'm definitely older, and I look at those other variables, and I definitely don't base jump as much as I used to.
Okay.
But I still love it. Like, if I do one base jump a month now and buzz off that, you know, and
it's amazing.
Whereas other people still need to do their 4 a day. Yeah.
Push.
Yeah.
You talk about rule of threes.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I have a rule of threes when it comes to base jumping. Like and it could be anything. If I miss my alarm, that's one strike already on the morning of a base jump. If the weather's not what it says it's going to be, yeah, that's another strike. And if I have a feeling, just a gut feeling when I'm on the exit point, I'll just put my gear away and I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't feel good. Yeah, and people will look at you and be like, but it's perfect conditions. Why are you not jumping? And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I just, not feeling it. And some people get a bit funny with you, but I'm pretty strict on my rule of threes now, because if I'd listened to my gut feeling in 2013, I might not have got hurt.
Because you're feeling it, weren't you?
I was feeling it. I could have just said no, but I didn't. I just kept going.
Because the ego gets in the way.
Yeah.
You don't want to look weak. You don't want to look like you're scared. Right?
Yeah. And now I know I'm not scared. I do things that are dangerous quite a lot of times. And I now know that I'm not petrified of these things. So when I do say like, no, I'm not feeling it, it's because I'm not feeling it. And I have to go by these three rules. And people might go, well, you just slept through your alarm. It doesn't matter. And it's just like, well, who knows? This might be a huge game we're in. And this is how we have to roll it out.
You're back to the sucking energy from other people when they drop out. There's more to this thing that we have in life, I think. And maybe it is a big game. I talked to Sean Taylor over and over again. We live in the Matrix, and he's got all these reasons why. But
hey, if people believe in religion, I don't see why we can't believe this is a simulation at times.
well, what do they say? The probability that we're living in a simulation either A, far exceeds the likelihood that we don't, or at the best case scenario, it's a 50-50.
Yeah, part of me still, like, hey, I grew up religious, and, part of me also listened to these arguments about simulation, and hey, like, I'll hang on to the religious thing. Like, when I was thinking I was going to die, I tried my best to say something to God, but
before Coolio came
before Coolio came in, so my thoughts were there. But also, like, if we are in a simulation, like, hey, what's wrong with just trying to keep our player interested?
Totally.
Because, like, I play video games and I like playing it, and if I get bored of this game, or bored of the player, or whatever, I'm just gonna turn it off. So just in case we are in a simulation, I'm trying to live an exciting life, so that at least the guy playing me is like, you know what, he might actually be worth seeing where this goes.
I love that. I love that mentality.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've talked about a fair bit. I know there's a lot more that we can touch on. Is there anything that we should touch on that we haven't?
Oh, there's a lot. I don't know what you want to talk about.
You got a lot to share from your life experiences. You got stuff to share on the mental health side. You've got stuff to share on dealing with adversity and overcoming fear, feeling the fear, but doing it anyways. And that's what courage is, right? Courage isn't the lack of fear. You can't have courage without fear. And from what it sounds like, you've had to display a fair bit of courage throughout your life in order to achieve these things that you have. It didn't just come because you had zero fear.
No, and these things of, like, especially like high adrenaline, high, dopamine that you get through life is like, sometimes it then takes it the complete opposite way, and I have found myself, like, pretty shortly after getting hurt, like, in a really, really bad place.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have the support of my unit, and granted, at that time, if I'd been like, hey dude, I'm having a bad time, they'd probably laugh at me, because our mentality on mental health was not what it is today. However, like, even though they would have laughed at me, I would never have said it to them, like, hey, I'm feeling it. But I would have been around them. But I wasn't around them at the time because I was already out of the military. So I had no bond there. The bond that I had with base jumpers just wasn't the same that I had with the paras. We didn't have the whole peak on me, the arduous Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever the stuff we went through. So, I didn't have these people around me anymore. And I couldn't, life was very different because things hurt. My bones hurt. I got metal in me. I can't run as much as I was. I just wasn't ever at the same level. So, getting into like a really dark point in my life. Like, who knows what you want to call it today, depression, PTSD, whatever it was, it all came crashing down. And, life thought about, things with Brian, things about like all the other guys, John and Mark and everyone else who died on tours that I was on, and things that I'd seen and felt, and other base jumpers I've watched die while doing my hobby. Like, all these things were coming at me, and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Because I can't be the person I was, and I've gone from being top of the world to no one, and that the reality check was that you're not special. None of us are really special. Yeah, you can say you're part of a special force, but you're not. You're just a bunch of idiots that are rebels. Like a bunch of rebels, a bunch of degenerates who can just push through the pain. Yeah, mentally you can do stuff, but things separate you, and I did get to a really bad point in my life, and I didn't really know how to get on with it. So, I did what I only knew how and did day by day. Yeah, and eventually someone, was telling me about these the psilocybin and microdosing, and I was just like, no, not interested. And they were like, no, dude, just hear it out, and it's a new thing. It's gonna help, and it will make you understand. I understand life right now. From the military, it's hardcore, no drugs.
Right.
And I grew up, I didn't take any drugs at all. And yeah, eventually I listened to this guy, and I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens then. And I got into trying this microdosing, and things started to like come together, and try and like understand the things that I was doing in life, and understand the ego that I was putting out, the persona that I was portraying myself as. And I found that the ego and the persona and the arrogance and everything else that I was portraying to everyone wasn't that I was an asshole and I was a horrible person, but this was my defense. I never really wanted you to know who I was. So my theory is I would much prefer that you think I'm an ass than you know who I am. Because if you know who I am, you'll see the weak side of me. Yeah, and you'll see the soft side, and you'll see the, the care, like the things that I'm upset about. Like me losing like my mentor in life very at an early age, and that really affected me. And being dumped by your mother, like that affected me. Like there's plenty of things in this life, like me being injured and not being able to run as much as I used to before, that affected me. So it's like all these things, and I never wanted you to see it. I still wanted you to see that tough guy that is a base jumper, not scared of anything, and an ex-military dude that just doesn't care. Like and this is where the microdosing actually helped, and it's sort of been like, you know what, people don't really care. They're you think they care, but they don't. They're only caring about their own problems. Yeah, they're not really focusing on you. Yeah, they might bitch and moan at you and be like, you're doing this. But it's just mirroring their problems.
So true.
Yeah, it's not you. And that's what the whole psilocybin sort of thing has helped me. And it sort of re-put me back on a path to try and like get my life back in order. And I think that's what helped. And restarting again in Canada is, like doing the microdosing leading up, moving to Canada, and then starting again over here has completely transformed like the way things are. Like I feel like the life I had before doing like military contracting, the military, base jumping, whatever else, it's a different life. Like I felt like moving to Canada, I've like drawn a line in the sand, and it's just like I'm starting again.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
You've been on a collective, I believe, have you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Okay. So, Sean?
Yep.
Talking with Sean there, and was in his house doing a podcast, and, similar mentality. He's like, I don't like medication. I don't, if I got a headache, I don't like to take stuff. I don't do meds, because he was talking about PTSD and how he came to learn he had it, and that whole story. And he says, oh, yeah, but, I microdose. But hold on a second, like from, similar upbringing and raising as yourself, and Well, you just said you don't like drugs, but you microdose. Oh yeah, and he lists off a couple other things that he's done in the past. And Sonny, Sonny,
Sunny.
right? Heroic Hearts.
Yeah.
There seems to be a hell of a lot of science that's going behind it. A lot of research. I know my wife went to the naturopath. I'm like, if you're going to the naturopath, can you ask some questions for me? Like, is there any like lion's mane? Like, if I want to be able to remember things when I'm doing a podcast, if I want to be able to recall stuff, because I always have difficulty with that. Is there stuff in the naturopath's like, she's a doctor, and she says, well, there's limited research in that, but unless he's looking at microdosing, there's a lot of research over there. So it's interesting that you bring that up.
Well, it's funny. I read somewhere the other day that there's actually been more studies in microdosing and how the benefits of microdosing psilocybin has been than ever was for legalizing cannabis in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yet we're still trying to legalize psilocybin, and and that struggles with me because I believe in it. Like, and I'm not just saying it because it's like, oh, it's a drug, it helps you. It understands, like, microdosing doesn't actually do anything. If you take it and you're like, well, it's not doing anything. Well, of course it's not doing anything.
You have to do it.
Like, you have to still, like, your brain just, like, the only way I describe it to, like, layman terms is parts of my brain have shut off, like, to protect myself and try and get off. So I feel like in my brain that there's a door, and I've shut that door because I don't want the bad stuff to come through that door. Yeah. Psilocybin sort of, especially the microdosing where you don't actually feel, you don't trip, you don't, nothing. You have no feelings of if you did any sort of drug like you would if you're smoking weed or anything like that. So, but I feel like that door gets cracked. The door gets cracked open and a few things come out, and in your brain you can sort of work out those little things. And over time, yeah, you just take those things out and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I can use that to become a better person. Like your mother, she dumped you on the side of a highway, but it's not your fault. But what can you do? Like it might not even be her fault. Like she had issues herself. Yeah, clearly. Like no normal person does that. So there must be issues. Do I forgive her? Like, no. But I can understand that something else was going on. Yeah. And I have a little bit of compassion for her, whatever she had to go through. But it should never have it should never have got to this point. But I need to understand that. Now I can't deal with her, but I can deal with my own feelings towards that situation. And being dumped there is like, well, what does that mean to me now? And now I can like look back and be like, what can strengthen that today? And then I can take the next thing out and look through the next part of my life and try and build these blocks into building a better me. And it's just like, it's only going to work if you actually put time and effort into trying to understand your past and trying to be a better person. But if you're not into that, then it's going to be hard. Like, you're just taking microdosing and you're going to feel better and you're going to have a better life. But you also need to like look back at your problems and try and put it all together.
How I've heard it referred to is just similar to what you've said there, or it's like fresh snowfall, like all these tracks down the mountain and there's a fresh snowfall and it covers it over and you can start taking whatever track you want. You don't have to be confined to the ruts, but essentially it helps you get to a place where you no longer need to microdose. So it's a non-dependent sort of thing.
Yeah, nowadays I don't microdose.
Right.
Yeah, like it's been like back then it was quite regular, and I read up of like how much is too much, like what am I doing, and I looked into it, and I was very stuck to microdosing to try and keep going. And then eventually when I was like, well, do I need this anymore? So I came off it. Then I was like, well, I think I need, it's just like, it was back and forth for a few years. And then eventually, got back to like, I don't think I need this anymore. I don't need, I'm good enough to look back at my own past now and go, I'm doing this wrong. Or even things that I'm doing presently. Like I do things presently and I'm like, oh, fuck, I should not have said that. I should not have done that, and I should have known better. And then I go back and I like fit there, and maybe now that's why I use Instagram rather than like psilocybin, I go back and I'm like, what should I do? Okay. And if I write it down and find a really cool picture to go with it, that's how my Instagram gets done these days.
That's awesome.
So nowadays it's like, it's what I'm thinking on Instagram is like, how do I make myself better from the dumb things I'm doing during my day to day, which is essentially what the microdosing has done.
That's amazing. Jamie, maybe we should wrap it here. And, I do have a lot more questions that I'd like to ask and go through, but I think it's lunchtime. I'll buy you lunch.
Let's do it.
Thanks very much for being on the Silvercore podcast.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.